And away we go with episode number 9 of Wholesaling the Cool Way. I'm Mark Cool, and this is my son Jasper Cool, and we are doing this podcast as a part of a mastermind we've been doing for a few years, just to talk about our businesses and help each other with challenges and just strategize about how to grow our businesses. It's been really helpful for the two of us, so we decided to open it up to more people in the hopes that we can help other people behind us or just our peers with ideas, tools, tips, tricks, our experiences to help everyone grow their real estate investing businesses and skills and strategies. So here we are, episode number 9. Jasper's in lovely Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm here in tiny Efland, North Carolina, in the woods. And we're just going to check in about some of the stuff we have going on for the week. Any highs and lows or any personal notes before we jump into the business stuff, Jasper?
Yeah, definitely. We touched on it real quick offline, but we celebrated one of my cousin's 7th birthday this week, and that was really fun. It's always fun to hang out with kids for a little while and get some of their mojo on you and stuff. They're just so
Yes.
lively. They're so lively and excited about everything, and it's so sweet. So that was really fun. We went to Texas Roadhouse for dinner, which is fun. I like that place, and they got a fun vibe, and they've got a fun little birthday celebration to do for the kids. So they bring over kind of like a high chair type thing, but it looks like a saddle, and so they bring it over, and then Davin is his name. He hopped on, and they sing him happy birthday while he's like hopping on or he's riding the horse or whatever. It doesn't move, but he's
Yeah.
having fun. And so they literally they do like a whistle or whatever to get everyone's attention, and then they're like, everyone start clapping, and like literally the whole restaurant was like singing to him. So it was really sweet,
Wow.
and he was just over the moon. So we got some fun pictures and video of him on the chair while they were singing to him.
Nice.
But that was a lot of fun. And then we went back to their hotel called Great Wolf Lodge, and we played in the arcade with them for about an hour, and we won a bunch of tickets. And you win the tickets. It's like Frankie's that we used to go to, but you win the tickets and you go and cash them in. You get all kinds of fun, like action figures and stuff like that. So that was really fun hanging out with those guys.
Cool.
And then, yeah, besides that, it was a good week. We went out to one of our favorite brunch spots yesterday. It's called the Henry, so that was fun. And had some really good food there. I had like a burrito breakfast bowl or something. And I doubled up on the eggs, so I got 6 eggs, bacon in there,
Wow.
steak in there. Yeah, it's delicious. It was so good. But I had 6 eggs. It has like cheese mixed in with the eggs, so that was delicious. And then I had steak added on it. I had bacon in there. They serve it with like salsa and stuff. So that was really good. I like that place. And then I got a coffee cake, of course. They have really good
Lumberjack
pastries
breakfast.
too. I know. So that was awesome. And then after that, we hung out. We went to one of our favorite coffee shops too, and I got to sit down. We both got to sit down and do some work on our own at the coffee shop, and that was fun just to kind of get out of the house and get some
Yeah.
work done in a different setting. It's
Yeah.
always
It's
nice.
always nice to change
So
the setting.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, it was a good week. I also switched up my programming slightly on my weight training this week, which is really nice. Switched to a new like program within the ATG thing that I've been working on, and really appreciate those guys for all the work they put into that app, because they basically add like one new program every single week to the app. So it's kind of overwhelming, but it's also fun when you want to switch stuff up. You have plenty of
Yeah.
options.
Nice to have variety.
So yeah. So that was fun. I'm still sore from that leg workout. I think it was Wednesday, but I'm still feeling it. So
Wow.
that was a good one. That was a good one. It was. I think every exercise was new to me, like something I've never done before. So that's really fun, to do new stuff in the gym. And yeah, I'm excited to continue that going forward. But yeah, it was a good week overall.
Sweet. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I'll just do a brief overview of my week. Let's see. My week's a little bit of a blur. I was in Chicago when the week started, so I drove from Chicago to North Carolina with my girlfriend and her cat in a car full of stuff on Tuesday. So we left early Tuesday morning from Chicago, and yeah, it was a pretty smooth drive. I mean, it's 12 hours of driving, but we didn't hit a lot of traffic. We got to drive a lot of it through the Blue Ridge in West Virginia. They took us kind of a more northern route, so I didn't get to go to
Hmm.
Gatlinburg, Jasper. I was saying I might try and stop there and send you some video and pictures, but we took a more northern route, is the way the map took us. And so the mountains we got a lot of it was just driving through the Blue Ridge Mountains, which was beautiful. And we stopped off a couple times for snacks and food. So it was pretty smooth. The cat was great. I was amazed. I've never seen a cat do that well in the car. Usually cats are howling and, screaming and clawing. And she like climbed all over the car, sat on both of our laps for a while and then found a space in the back seat and just chilled most of the trip. So she was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Amazing.
amazing.
And we had like kitty Prozac to give her from the vet just in case she was freaking out. Like we had drugs to
Right.
but we didn't give them to
Yeah.
her. But yeah, so we got here Tuesday and then Wednesday we had to go to the storage unit early and unload the truck. I mean, we had a guy who drove a truck of our stuff across country that I hired on UShip, which is it's a cool tool if you do any shipping of larger items or furniture or anything. It's just like an app that you can download. I used to use it when I was building furniture and shipping it, and you post your shipment on there and then guys bid on it, similar to like a thumbtack or something. But this guy
Yeah.
was a private individual who showed up and he hired like a couple of guys off of Thumbtack in Chicago, I think, and they loaded the truck and then came here and he hired some other guys who were great here and they unloaded it into the storage unit. And so we're all the Chicago stuff is here in storage unit and we're here at the tiny house in the woods. So um, it's been cool, and I've connected with some of my pickleball friends here. I've played a few times since I've gotten here, and did a fun drilling session with Steve over at Hope Valley Country Club. I was telling you about Jasper yesterday,
Yeah.
and yeah, just been settling in here
Very
and
nice.
trying to get work done, and also settle in at the same time. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
culture shock
Sounds
and
good.
weather shock to be here from Chicago. It's more dry there, more humid here. It's supposed to be 90s this week. So
Yeah.
we'll probably be going to the quarry to swim. There's a great quarry here where you can plunge in. It's nice and cold, and probably be going there in the evenings since we were used
Yeah.
to the lake in Chicago in the evenings. Uh, yeah, that's it for me. So then I guess next we normally do like some inspiration or education, like things we've listened to or watched or read this week that might have been inspiring or educational that we can talk about and share takeaways, and maybe other people will be interested in them. Do you have anything from this week, Jasper?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was reading $100 Million Leads, Alex Hormozy's new book this week. About halfway through that, and that's been really good. Not so much inspiration; it's very tactical. I mean, it's inspiring because of how good the book is, but the stuff that is in the book is very tactical. So I appreciate that. It's stuff that you can take action on right away. And so I'm really enjoying that book so far. So far, he's been talking about posting content to get more leads, and then I just read the chapter on outreach. So his strategy on building more cold outreach. And one of the things that I took away from that for my business is because I'm already doing cold calling and texting. And so there's a few takeaways from that, just tweaking my scripting and stuff. But one of the things I never thought about is just doing cold emails for sellers, because when we skip trace them, we get their email too. And I've never even tried that. And
Yeah,
so
it's a good
that's
thought. Yeah,
one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the things I was inspired to try from his book, because he mentioned one of the companies that they've invested in, one of their portfolio companies. He used them kind of as a case study, and he said that they send out, I think he said 2,000 emails a day. So not like we send more text than that per day.
yeah,
But he said from those 2,000 emails per day, I want to say they're getting 4 new customers per day, and those are like customers that are buying their product. So,
yeah,
and he said their average order value is 20,000. So you can do the math. 80,000 a day off 2,000 emails. That's insane. Um, and so that inspired me to try it. And so I took some
yeah,
action on that. I signed up for a separate email platform because I don't want to get banned on the one that I use for my buyers. So I signed up for a separate account, and I figured out very quickly that I need to use another server, which is called Never Bounce. So if anyone's interested in doing something like this, I first sent out a blast, and probably 75% of the emails were incorrect. And so they were just bouncing, they were just not deliverable. And so I just quick Googled, and there's a bunch of softwares, but I found one called Never Bounce. It looks very simple, and it was the easiest for me. So all you do is you literally just upload your spreadsheet into their platform. They scrape all your emails somehow. I guess it's like the do not call type thing, but they scrape all the emails, and any email that's not legit or that's not going to be deliverable, they just take it out and they send you back the clean list essentially. So that was exciting. And so I'm going to start going harder on that this coming week. I'm going to just start small, probably send out a few hundred a day, and then see if I'm getting any response from it. Probably turn it up from there. So I'm excited about the possibility of a new marketing channel, which starting out is very, very low cost. Never bounce.
Yeah.
You have to pay for that service, but for the email service that I'm using, it's free because I don't have too many people right now. So I'm really just paying, kind of pennies on the dollar for Never Bounce. It's kind of like skip tracing. You just pay a few pennies for their service, basically per record.
Yeah, that's a
So
great
I'm
tip
excited
for
about.
people starting out who don't have a lot of money for marketing,
Yeah, yeah, and you don't even have to do any of the stuff that I'm talking about. You can just find the emails and manually type them all in yourself and do it that way. But if you have a little bit of money, then you can scrub it through the software and stuff. But yeah, so that was my takeaway from his book so far. So I'm excited to continue reading and learn more. I'm excited to see how that works. So I'll keep you posted on that. But other than that, I listened to a couple other really good podcasts that I like. One of them was with Jamil Damji. He was on Steve Trang's show, and I don't know that I've listened to Jamil. If I have, it's been a while, but I really enjoyed that one. He wasn't really talking about wholesaling much. He was really just talking about the mental side of business and success and stuff, and I really enjoyed that. Just hearing his mindset on all that stuff. And then one other one that I enjoyed this week was I'm trying to remember his name. Um, Andy Elliott. He was on with Cody Sperber, and that was pretty inspiring for me. He's a fun guy to listen to. He's super amped up and got a lot of energy, and so that was a fun one to listen to. But what was really inspiring for me was just how fast he's just turned his life around. Not really turned his life around, but just launched this business because he was already successful. But his story is that he was a car salesman and he quickly grew through the ranks there. I think he said he started when he was like 19 and he made 100,000 his first year. Next year he did like 250. Next year he did 500, and then
Wow.
he just ascended really quickly to manager. And he said, within like 5 years of him starting, he was sales manager, making $2.5 million a year salary,
Wow.
managing the dealership. And I think he did that for a couple of years, and then he realized that it just wasn't for him. And he mentioned a few times like betrayal or something. So I'm guessing one of his manager or whatever did something wrong or something, and that just left a bad taste in his mouth. So he kind of ventured off on his own and he built sales training specifically for car salesmen, and all he was doing was just posting content nonstop. And one of the things that inspired me about that was that he said that when he started out, he was doing it all himself, the content, and he didn't even know that you could edit videos. So when he would mess up, he would literally just walk back, start the whole video over, and do it all over again. And he might be 10 minutes into a 20-minute video, and he'd just have to restart the whole thing because he didn't know you could edit. And so that was just hilarious. And he said, like, you can go look up his old videos and you'll see him walking from behind the camera to the whiteboard because he didn't know how to edit that beginning part out and stuff. And like, it was inspiring that, it was just progress, not perfection. He just wanted to get that content
Yeah.
out there, and it
None is
paid
better
off.
than perfect.
Yeah. And he said that I tried this. He was like, you can Google, I think he said just Google car sales training or something, and he's still the first one that pops up, even though he hasn't done it in like 5 years because he put out so much content that if you Google that, then he's still the first one to pop up. So he transcended that and built it just like a blanket sales training for any sales agents. And he said they have 500,000 members. So
Wow.
you can imagine, right? But
Yeah.
he,
Crazy.
he said he said so he started that business 3 years ago, and in 3 years they're 9-figure in revenue this year. And so that was really inspiring for me, to just see. It kind of breaks your belief because one of the things that I've heard from Alex Ramosi and other people is that a lot of times, like, people will have a goal and then they'll attach a timeline to it, but how do you know that you can't do it faster than that? And so for him, that kind of broke my belief because, like, I have certain goals for myself in 3 years. We do our 3-year vision and stuff, um, and to think you can go from not zero because he had previous success, but to think you can go from relatively small to 9 figures in 3 years is really inspiring. So that was cool to hear. And last thing on that is that Cody mentioned that he's partnering up with Dan Fleischman this year for the toy drive. They're doing like Toys for Tots, which is just a charity for kids. You give them toys. And last year, Dan Fleischman is like an investor and stuff, and he filled up SoFi Stadium, which is in Los Angeles, with toys. So a football stadium filled up with toys. That's how many toys they donated.
Wow.
And so they're trying to top that this year. And so they're doing like a hub in every major city. And so Dan is doing LA. and Cody's doing Phoenix, and so that inspired me. I'm gonna definitely participate and go down to his office and meet him and stuff and donate a bunch of toys this year. So that was
Cool.
really inspiring, and I'm excited to do that for Christmas this year. So that was pretty cool.
That's great.
But yeah, for anyone who's listening, if anyone's interested to donate, you can just Google Toys for Tots, and I think they're setting up a kind of a headquarters at different people's offices like throughout the country. And so you can probably just Google that and then donate around Christmas time if you guys want to. But that's it for me. It was really inspiring to hear that, all of it.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I had a couple of things. One was, the house I sent you yesterday, Jasper. If we were more sophisticated technologically, I'd post it in the show notes or whatever. We're not there yet. We just figured out how to actually record this podcast, and it's probably still lo-fi, but we'll get there. Um, so a friend of mine invited me to do some pickleball drilling. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm a pickleball addict, so I play probably 5 to 7 days a week, and 2 or 3 hours a day if I can, and I drill and everything. I've got a couple tournaments coming up. I just joined a league here, and somebody asked me to join a league on Wednesday night, so I've got a league going on. But so anyway, he invited me to drill at these courts. That he's a member of this country club, and I went over there, and the courts are really nice, and that's just a nice feeling drilling next to the golf course, and people are there. You see people going playing golf and hitting from the driving range. There's people over there playing tennis. But directly across the street from the pickleball courts is this amazing new brick mansion, and it's perfectly symmetrical. It looks like something. Looks like if you've seen pictures of like Versailles, where it's like this big symmetrical, beautiful building, and then it comes down a hill. There's like cascading terraced gardens and a circular driveway, and just really beautiful. And so I said to Steve, "Oh, Jasper would love this. He loves." Houses like this, and they go on tour. I know you guys go on tour. You and Naja go tour some of the houses in Paradise Valley and stuff. So I was taking a video of
Yeah.
it, and he was like, "Yeah, that guy invented the technology that when you're watching football, it shows like where the first down is and the line of scrimmage is, and like superimposed on the football field, and that's where he made his money. Is like that and other things like it." So just inspiring to see all the different ways people make wealth. And so Steve said the price tag, the guy I was playing with said the price tag on that was about 8 million. And just inspiring to see people like figuring out how to do a business or inventing something and making a lot of money off it. It's always inspiring to me, seeing the different ways people build wealth, Another interesting one, this is kind of a funny one, but it goes in with like my business check-in, but one of my challenges that I'll speak to later about SMS marketing, but I was getting another EIN number, and I'm online going, Googling like IRS /EIN, whatever. And the site comes up and it looks like the IRS site. And I go on there and I'm filling out all the information to get my EIN, and I get all the way. And then there's a checkout. And I was like, I thought IRS didn't charge you for this stuff. And so then I look a little more closely, and it was the cost was $329 to do my EIN. And I was like looking for my credit card because I was like, I need to get this EIN done. I don't care, And then I went, wait a minute. And I'm looking at the URL, and it wasn't IRS. And then I go back and I Google irs.gov EIN, and I go in and they have the same exact form, and I fill out all that stuff, and it's free. They just send it to you on email. And I was like, oh man, these guys, but there are so many businesses like that where they're just like, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of sketchy to like try and copy the IRS and do a sponsored ad and stuff. But I should have known better to not click on the sponsored ad. I did it because I was in a hurry. But if you have to scroll down below the sponsored ads and get the actual IRS and go on there, and EIN number is free. So just for anyone who's watching, don't ever pay for an EIN, employer identification number. But the inspiring thing was if they're charging $300 and they get however many people a day. If they get 10 people a day, then they're making $3,000 a day, or $3,000 a day. If they get 100 people, they're making $30,000. Right? Am I doing my math right?
Mm-hmm.
Just from duplicating the IRS form, collecting the information, and sending it over to the IRS, at $300 a pop. So just interesting and funny on the same topic of seeing how people make their money and how we could come up with simple business ideas that way of just like, what's something that I do all the time that's really easy for me, but that would be difficult for somebody else that I could create a portal for and charge a fee for. So just
Yeah.
inspired me to keep my mind open to that. As far as content that I consumed, I really enjoyed one podcast I listened to this week, so I'll just check in about that one. But I hadn't been on Tim Ferriss in a while, and I went on there, and he had Derek Sivers on, who's one of my favorites, and
Uh-huh.
they had a wide-ranging discussion that was quite long and really cool. I don't know if I can hit on all the different things, but just really some deep philosophical and mindset stuff, definition of success, talking about the unoptimized life and the paradox of choice, and just really cool stuff to, for me, open up my mind and look at different ways of defining success, defining life goals, defining priorities. They actually, one piece that Sivers gave in this too is they talked a little bit about being not dependent on the cloud and on service providers, and not having
Uh-huh.
have control over your information. And Sivers actually takes a portion of the podcast and outlines really simply how you can do all this stuff for free and set up your email on your own server, set up your own server, have it so your stuff is not just on the cloud or available for people who are like calling information and sending you ads. He's got all this stuff private, and you can do it really cheaply and very simply. So that was cool
Huh.
in and of itself. Just like get off the cloud, get off your cloud dependency. His metaphor was like, how to make it's like somebody saying, if you pay me $10, I'll make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You don't have to do that. Let me take care
Yeah.
of that for you. You've got the peanut butter, you got the jelly, you got the bread. All you have to do is put it together. He said it's really that simple. You get a few tools and you put all this stuff together, and you don't have to be paying people, or you don't have to have your data potentially compromised, all this stuff. So that was cool. But
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the takeaways was the thing about the unoptimized life, and they were talking about the paradox of choice, and really they were just talking about, this is philosophical, and I'll just speak to it briefly, just like how people are all about optimize, optimize, maximize, maximize, right? And the book, The Paradox of Choice, talks about maximizers versus satisficers. And they were just talking about picking one or two areas of your life that you really want to optimize or maximize, be it your income production or your relationship or whatever it is. Pick one or two things and work on optimizing those. And in every other area of your life, work on what is satisfactory, and then leave it alone so you can optimize the areas that really matter to you. So that's just like in
Mm-hmm.
a nutshell, that conversation. But it was a really good in-depth thing. And then they're just talking about the definition of success, and like, and Sivers was saying success to me is just like, did I do what I set out to do? I don't have to define it by anybody else's standards or compare myself to anybody else. If I feel satisfied with my result based on what I set out to do, then I'm a success in my mind.
Yeah.
They also talked about transitioning out of things once you are a success, and how some people just stay with stuff because it's what they know and they're good at it, but they're not really happy in it. And
Mm-hmm.
he talked about selling his company, CD Baby. He was like, he did this thing because he wanted to help out himself originally, and then help out other musicians, and then it blew up and became big. And he did it well for like 10 years. And he was like, I'm kind of done with this. And then he sold it. And he moved on to
Mm-hmm.
other things, because that's. Oh, the other great thing they talked about, and I'll stop after this, was beliefs. And his thing was like, no belief is true. Every belief is just a belief. Like, and this is a big mindset piece about how, beliefs are useful and they're helpful, but none of them are true. They're not data. They're just beliefs. And you
Yeah.
just talk about malleability with that, and how you can, it's very interesting. If you like philosophy of like mindset and how to think about living your life, and how to think outside the box about your life and success, this is a great conversation to listen to. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Definitely.
Two great minds, Tim Ferriss and Derek Sivers, in my mind, my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I'll wrap up with that. I guess we'll move on to our business check-in. Normally, we'll do some check-in about our businesses here. Jasper wholesales primarily houses and has done some land, and he's got some buy and hold stuff. And then I have been specializing in land for the past few years, a little bit of subject to. And then we owner finance some of our land too. So we'll buy them and owner finance them to people who want to build a house and stuff. So that's just a brief thumbnail of what our businesses are, and we normally just we'll do a check-in. I guess I could say, we both use VAs for our businesses. I have my brother is a partner with me here in the States. But other than that, we have 4 other people in the Philippines who work in the business. And Jasper, I think you have like 11 VAs at this point, or maybe you have less than that now. I think you had a couple. You shook up your active.
Yeah, I think it's 11. I think you're right.
I think it's 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so those are our business models right now. And we both close whatever, somewhere between 5 and 10 deals a month, right? On average.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we normally just check in about some KPIs, whatever challenges we might have experienced and what we've learned from them, any tools that we can share with each other, with any listeners. And as always, we're open to feedback or suggestions, comments, about what people want to hear more about, or we're happy to share whatever we can to help.
Yeah.
You want to do your business overview? What's going on with you in terms of KPIs or challenges or tools, any of that stuff?
For sure. Let's do it. So I'll start with KPI. So this week we closed one deal, sold one deal, got one contract, 160 leads, and 48 offers. So those are the numbers for this past. I'll start with victories. This past week, so I had a discovery call basically with this guy named Carson Young from Redcliffe Labs, and that was really good for me. He was just talking about how he can build out a podio for me, and we were just going through all the different ways that he can optimize it, and he showed me kind of a sample one that he likes to use as kind of like a base, and then we can build out a bunch of automations and stuff. And so pretty much 99% sure I'm going to go with this guy. I like him, and I like the one that he showed me. And one of the things that really kind of blew my mind that I don't have is this thing. He calls it the hopper, but basically it's just like a first place that the leads come in when leads come into this podio that he was showing me, and it automatically scrubs for duplicates. And that's one of the things that is a very small thing, but it's something I don't have. And so we'll end up having like 5 records of the same person and we won't catch it.
Yeah.
And until we actually get a hold of them, and it's like, wait, which one is the correct one? And then we're leaving notes in 5 different things, and so all the notes aren't coherent and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's a pain, and it's not something that happens all the time, but probably at least once a week. And so that would be just really nice to have that not happen. And so that was a cool little feature that he showed me. One of the other things is just contract automation, something that I don't have right now, and something that I was even thinking of hiring someone, because that's how much of a pain point it is for me. It's not something that is hard for me to do, but it's something that I have to drop what I'm doing.
Time
Sometimes I might be at the
consuming. Yeah.
gym. Yeah, sometimes I might be at the gym. Sometimes I might be trying to eat dinner or something. It's like, oh, we need to send a contract out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I have to drop everything and send a contract out. And I've optimized it on my end as much as I can with DocuSign. I have templates, so all I have to do is fill in a couple plugables and stuff. But it's still a 5 to 10 minute task every single time. 20 times a month if we're contracting 10 deals and selling 10 deals, right? So it's a bunch of stuff. And so I talked to him about that, and he was just like, oh yeah, super easy. I'll just set it up as an automation. And so all I have to do is like click a button, it'll send a contract to seller and to buyer. So just that alone is like going to save me so much, and it's going to save me human capital, right? Where I don't have to hire necessarily an admin to do that task. I can just easily automate it. And that's one of the things I've heard on some podcasts and stuff. But just thinking about when you're thinking about like cutting costs in your business and stuff, instead of bringing on an unnecessary team member, maybe that's just doing small part-time stuff, maybe you can automate those tasks. And so
Yeah.
that's something I've been thinking about, and just going through different things. But just talking to him, I realized there's a bunch of things within my podio that I could automate with him, and it would save my team time and save me time. So I'm excited about that. Funny thing, I'll touch on it in challenges, but that was a victory talking to him. I have another call with him this coming Tuesday, which is basically like a role reversal. Like on this past call, he showed me kind of behind the scenes on his podio and different things he can build out for me. Now I'm going to take the chair and show him my podio and show him everything within my system and show him what I want to keep, what I don't want to keep, stuff like that. And then we're gonna get it going, hopefully. So I'm excited about that.
Hey, if you ever want to do a tour of mine too, we might have some stuff you want to talk to him about, because Jazel's been doing a lot of automations within ours. So it might be helpful for you to have ideas for him too.
Definitely. Yeah. I also made a doc while I was at the coffee shop, kind of like just all the wants and needs that I would want for my other ones. Some things I have, some things I don't. So I'm excited about the possibility of having a new podio, and also something that technically own, so that I can make changes as I wish and not get locked out of my account again. So
Well, it'll save you some subscription fees too, right? Don't you pay a monthly subscription for the one you have?
yeah, I mean it's super cheap. It's $160. So for this, I'm gonna pay somewhere between 3 and 4 grand. So it'll take like 2 years for me to break even, but that's
Mm,
okay. Uh, it saves in the long run. So, and it's something where it's like you can sell a Podio, So if I ever moved on from this business, I could sell that
yeah.
CRM to someone else. Probably maybe not for the same cost, but for something. So,
Well, the
and it's
one you're
something.
using now is a subscription that somebody else built, right? That they're selling
Yeah,
every month, right? So that's the thing.
yeah,
I was thinking about that
yeah.
with
So
ours. Like ours is built for land, so we might be able to sell subscriptions to our framework.
yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so it's kind of like buying a digital asset. That's
Yeah,
the way I look at it. So I'm excited about the possibility. I'm probably going to do it with this guy. So I'm excited about it.
cool.
But yeah, so that was a victory to talk to him, and also closed that deal in Hickory finally this week. It was quite a roller coaster of a deal, and barely squeaked it by the skin of our teeth on Friday, but it did close. So finally closed, and a victory there. Obviously, closing that deal. Um, I guess I can touch on victories and challenges at the same time. But victory was closing the deal. Victory was working with Daniel again, which is someone that I made contact with from CG. I'm really grateful for him and his company. They basically provide funds for double closing. This deal I had to provide about 670,000 on the front end. Obviously, something I don't have just sitting around. And so I was really grateful to have him there ready to fund. The kind of roller coaster was that we were supposed to close on the 22nd, so way behind schedule. Sellers were extremely frustrated, and understandably so. But we were finally scheduled to close on the 30th, August 30th, and so I told the sellers they were happy. At least we got something definite, because it was kind of up in the air. And so then Daniel and his company, Daniel and Kelsey, that double closing people, they were going out of town on the 1st, so Friday until the 6th for Labor Day weekend. So they were like, our
Yeah,
offices are closed from the 1st to the 6th. Please schedule closings accordingly. Like, we're not going to be in office. I was like, oh, nice. So we'll just close on the 30th, no problem. So it didn't close the 30th, not even close. Looked like we might close on the 31st, but we had to do a remote closing. So the buyers signed on the 31st, but we weren't going to get the docs till the 1st. And so then I was like, oh, awesome. So we're not going to close until the 7th, essentially, and the sellers are just going to lose their minds. And Jason reached out to me. He's like, sellers are losing their minds. their their attorney was calling Jason. The sellers are calling Jason. They're calling me. They're freaking out, because Jason told them what I assumed as well. It's like, hey, I'm so sorry. We're not going to get the documents till tomorrow. Because of that, the lender is out of town till the 7th. Sorry, we can't close until then. And they were freaking out. I was like, shoot. And so Daniel has a great assistant named Kelsey that we work with. But I was like, dude, because Jason was like, Kelsey's not answering the phone, because this is on the 31st. Like, Jason was trying to get them to fund a deal on the 31st, even though we couldn't close till the following day. But she wasn't answering the phone. So I reached out to Daniel, and he got back to me immediately. And he was like, oh, yeah, well, we're technically going out of town, but I'm still here. I'll send the wire immediately tomorrow. And I was like, dude, thank you so much. So he
wow.
saved the day. Yeah, he's totally saved the day. And even on Friday, there was even another challenge. And so Jason made a mistake, and I think it's partly because Jason is like all over the place these days. He's in the office, he's out of the office. And Giselle were laughing about that this week. But so he made a mistake on this one and basically undercharged the end buyer $6,000. And so he reached out to me Friday morning. He's like, hey man, sorry about this. We need $6,000. And I was like, well, I don't know why he reached out to me. I was kind of like, I'm not gonna eat that cost, because it's already not like a huge deal for me. And so I was like, can you reach out to the buyer and tell them, what happened, and ask them for the money? Because I was like, dude, this is kind of on your plate.
Yeah,
And so to his credit, he did, and to the buyer's credit, they wired the funds immediately, and so all was well. We were able to close on
wow.
Friday,
That's
but
lucky.
it
Yeah,
was just so much stuff going on, and obviously, if we weren't able to close by like 12 p.m. Friday, Jason wouldn't have been able to like record it and cut the checks and stuff. And since that, tomorrow's a holiday, so no one would have got paid till Tuesday. Sellers would have been super pissed. But thankfully, that didn't happen, and we got the funds out Friday and everything. But that was quite a fun deal. So I won't be doing any of those anytime soon, unless it's a much bigger profit because of all that goes into it. I didn't
was
know
this the
going into it.
multi-unit one?
Yeah, it was 11 units, and I
Yeah,
didn't know going into it that it would be this difficult, but
yeah,
it was really the buyer's lender that messed everything up. The buyers were really nice, and they were frustrated as well, but their lender was horrible. And Jason even said it. He was like, "This lender is probably the worst I've ever dealt with."
huh.
Um, and so Jason said that they had to redo the HUDs for this lender 12 times,
Wow.
like for them to approve the HUD. And he was like, "This lender sucks." He literally said that. Like
Yeah, he's
he
pretty
said
even
that.
keeled. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he said that to me. He was like, "This lender sucks, man. Like we had to redo it 12 times, and they still haven't approved." And so it wasn't Gold Law's fault. It was all on this lender, but it's a learning experience. I'm happy to get it closed. But yeah, that was quite a long story. So other than that, other victories, I sent my first contract to the Easy REI people on Friday, and I was really pleased with that experience. I upload the documents to their online portal and upload, the seller's contact information, everything. They email me within like 2 minutes, and they're like, "Hey, we got this. It's a holiday weekend, but we'll reach out Monday anyways." And so that was awesome because I submitted it like after hours Friday, but they still got back to me right away. And so I appreciate that, and I'm excited to do the first deal with them. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
yeah. For anybody
Um,
listening, that's Jasper's. He hired some people to do transaction coordination for his closings instead of doing it in house. So, first one. We talked
yeah,
about that last
yeah,
week. You mentioned that. Yeah.
yeah. For anyone interested, it's called Easy REI Closings, and basically they handle everything once you get a contract. So they handle communication with buyer, seller, and attorney, so that you can focus on revenue generating stuff. So I really would like looking back, I would recommend something like that to a beginner because then you can focus your time on getting more deals and getting more contracts. So
Yeah, and it's
um,
it's a lot of jumping around sometimes to get a deal closed. You have back and forth between
yeah,
buyers and sellers and lawyers, and it can be overwhelming, and especially if you're not don't have a real estate background and you're not used to like all these different logistics and how the closing process works.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I'll report back probably in a couple weeks once this one closes and see, how smooth the process was. But so far, so good. And so, yeah, moving on. I also found a new CPA this week. So I canceled my CPA that I was working with. I wasn't really loving those guys, and I signed up with a new one that's local here. And I'm excited about that. It's a little bit cheaper than the other one, and he's a really nice guy. He got back to me right away. So I'm excited about that.
I might have to get his
And
name from you because my guy canceled last minute again for the third time.
yeah, if
Third
you want
last minute
someone, then
cancellation.
yeah, that's not a good sign. Yeah, I mean, I was just like ready for a new CPA because it's already September, so I want to get some idea of like stuff I might need to do to prepare myself for next year and try
Yeah,
to pay less taxes and stuff. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. So I sat down, I reached out to like 10 people, and this dude called me back within 5 minutes. Everyone else still hasn't got back to me. And this was about Wednesday of last week. And so I was like, that's the type of, I could have held out and be like, no, I'm going to interview, but I'm like, that's the type of person I want to work with. So
yeah,
I,
exactly.
I just I just signed up with him, and it was very like non-pressure and stuff. He was like, "These are our fees," and so I can share with you. But he said it's I have it over here. It's 1,500 for a business filing, so that's $500 less than I paid last year, and 1,250 for personal filing, so it's 2,750 for tax filing. And then for him, he charges $500 an hour. He said it's billed in 15-minute increments, and so that's still cheaper because last year I paid 4,000 for an advisory service annual fee, 4,000, and I got like 3 calls out of that, so it was way more than 500 an hour, and
Yeah.
it wasn't really helpful. And
No,
this guy's
I'm
nice,
not
and
sold on that Ryan Pineda thing.
yeah,
I don't think
no,
it's. I think it's a lot of woo woo woo, and I don't really necessarily see that it's a lot of value. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Ryan, if you're listening.
no, it wasn't for me. But I just last year I was kind of in the same place. I was kind of scrambling. I needed someone, and I had just heard him on a podcast. I was like, I'll give it a shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, and so
I did a
yeah, so this
call with one of their people, and I was just like, "So you want me to pay this much money for advisory services? Like I'm just trying to get
yeah.
somebody to prepare my taxes."
Yeah, yeah, it wasn't really helpful, and that's kind of where I'm at still, where it's like I might use 1 hour of his time over the whole year. Like I don't really have a need for that much tax planning right
You
now. I
got a
really just want
bookkeeping
help with,
service. Yeah.
yeah, I really just want help with the filing and the prep and just knowing that I'm above board on everything and all that stuff. And so
Yeah.
it's like I might use 1 to 2 hours of his time, I think, throughout the next 4 months. So I might spend $1,000, but it's like I don't even know if I will. So, because I can probably ask him all my questions in like 30 minutes. So it's probably not. not that big of a deal. But either way, I'm excited about that. So I can send you his info offline if you want to talk to him. But yeah, that was also a victory. And then another victory was this deal that I've been in litigation on for a couple months. He hired his own attorney, and his own attorney told him, you should probably close because you're in the wrong here. And so my attorney relayed that info to me. We scheduled our third closing, I think, now for the end of the month. So we'll see if it goes through, but this time it seems a little bit more promising. So I'm excited about that. That's still, a good deal for us. And so I'll close on it at the end of the month, and I'll list it, then I'll probably close it in like October, November. So I'm excited about that. Finally, hopefully, fingers crossed, get to the
Yeah.
closing table this time. But I'm excited they came back around. And then, oh yeah, land deal also. So I had a land deal that was scheduled to close like middle of this month. I got a call from the buyer, and it was quite an interesting week for me. So when I saw this dude's name pop up, I was like, I don't even want to answer because there's so many cancellations and delays for me this week. I was just like, I don't want another one right now. But instead, it was good news. And he was like, hey, man, I got the approval from my bank. I can close on Tuesday. And I was like, well, that's not going
Nice.
to happen because this was like 7 p.m. on Friday. I was like, dude, they're closed Monday. We're not closing Tuesday, but we can close next week. So that's super exciting.
That's great.
And like I said, we were scheduled to close like towards the end of September. So closing 2 weeks early. Sellers are super pumped. They're already signing on Monday on Labor Day because they're off work and stuff. So it works out perfectly. So yeah, I was excited about that. And it was a deal. I told you about this land deal, but it's 60 acres near Charlotte. And it was something where I thought it was going to be a huge deal. And then I was like, okay, this is not even a deal. And then when I contracted with this dude, I was kind of expecting him to just back out and be like, hey, there's something wrong with the survey or the land or whatever. When he called me, that's what I was expecting. But turns out it wasn't. It was good news. So that's awesome.
That's always nice.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, yeah, last thing for me was the Tiffany High. I signed up for her virtual mastermind last year. It was $1,000, and I think I told you about this, but
Yeah. I
it was
remember
way
this.
better. It was way better than probably all the other stuff that I've done. A lot of knowledge and a lot of stuff that they shared with us, and so that was very valuable for me when I signed up. She reached out to everyone I think who signed up last year, and she was like, "Hey, I'm opening this back up to everyone who signed up last year for the next month." Because basically her thing is like $1,000, you get 4 Zoom calls, and each week they go over a different segment of the business, and then you also get access to all their Google Drive and all the
What's her
documents and
name?
stuff.
Tiffany what?
Tiffany High, like a highlight, just
Yeah.
HIGH. So yeah, her and her husband run their business together. They're super successful. They do like $6-7 million a year just in real estate, and so they crush it. Um, but basically, she opened up her virtual group for September. So starting on the 5th, I believe, 5th or 6th, to her past clients, and so for free. So I'm really excited about that because it's helpful to get like real market updates rather than me going back and looking at last year's recordings. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. So basically, we get 4 weeks of the course again for free. So it's really sweet of them to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's it for my victories. Um, for challenges, I kind of mixed those in there. The only other challenge was I had another deal that was supposed to close on the 30th, did not, and the buyer was really frustrating to work with. But the good news is they got everything late on Friday, so we'll close on Tuesday. Come back in office. So yeah. In terms of other challenges besides that, I don't really know. That was That's pretty much it. It was just a challenging week with all these delays and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
really excited to have the TC stuff off my plate pretty soon. I'm like looking at my calendar and I'm like, okay, after this date in September, I can finally be done because I have deals. I'm not going to pass off the deals that I've already been working on because that might confuse the sellers and stuff. But
Yeah.
going forward, I'm going to be giving them everything. So I'm excited. I think by the end of September, I'll have like all the deals that I'm like doing TC off my plate. So then I'll be pretty much hands off. Hopefully, we'll see. But
Yeah.
I
It's a
can
lot
see
of
the light
work.
at the end of the tunnel. Yeah,
And for
definitely.
listeners, TC is transaction coordination. It's making sure things close after you sign contracts with the buyer and seller. And it takes a lot of
Yep.
time, a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. So yeah, I also found another TC service after I signed up with these guys, but they're slightly more expensive. They just charge on a per file rate. It's called Atlas Transaction Coordination. So one thing is they are based in North Carolina, so they might be a little bit more well versed with stuff in North Carolina. But They're slightly more expensive. So, but yeah, I think that's it for me. Um, yeah, in terms of challenges, I think I shared everything. Main challenge is just hitting my revenue goal for the year. I
Yeah.
had a really helpful brainstorming session with myself at the coffee shop yesterday, and I basically like just broke it down all down to the nitty gritty, all the numbers that I would need to do to hit my goals, and that was helpful for me.
Yeah.
I broke down all the associated costs and everything that I would need to do, and I'm pretty close. So I have an action item that I gave myself for today to really dial in the numbers because when I dialed it in, I had some data that was conflicting, so I needed to dial it in a little bit more. But yeah, yeah. When I broke it down on paper, it looked like I could do it. So I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I've been doing the same
We'll
thing
see.
too, just crunching it and going, okay, I'm behind the eight ball here, but I can still do it if we can, you know, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I
Oh, that was my
believe,
other challenge. I'll sh- I'll share this and then we'll move along. So I had a great call with Carson talking about the Podio build out, and he ended the call. He was like, "What was your budget for this, and what's your timeline like?" So I told him my budget, and I told him timeline. I was like, "Well, not really in a rush. You know, probably towards the end of the year when we have some downtime, I want to make the switch so that we're not switching, you know, in the middle of everything because it's gonna take some getting used to." And so he was like, "Okay, no problem." And then literally the next day, I get an email from Sal's team, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, we're shutting down Hercules in 60 days." I'm like, "Oh, nice." And
you're
so now
shutting
I
it down
feel like,
permanently.
yeah, and so now I feel like I'm under the gun because Carson shared with me, he's like, "Yeah, usually we're about 30 days on these build outs, you know, to build everything out and stuff." And he said that he's already got a big client for September, and so he probably started on me in October. And I'm like, shoot, now I'm under the gun. So like, now it's like I don't necessarily want to tell Carson because then he'll be like, "Oh, cool, I'll just charge you more." But it's like now I'm just like, geez, dude. And so Sal texted me. He's like, "Hey, you want to switch to Prospect X?" I'm like, "No, not really," because that's his new CRM. And so he's trying to make all his Hercules Podio people. That's what their Podio is called, Hercules. He's trying to make them all switch over to Prospect X. So I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I'm happy with Podio and I'm happy with your Podio, but he's like, nope, we're shutting it down. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I basically have 60 days or less to get all my stuff off of there. So
Wow.
that felt like a bit of a challenge. The good news is I shared with you, I got that backup software. So my Podio backs up every day now through their software. So if they do decide to shut me down, I'll have my backup stuff there. But I think it would be easier to transfer stuff when I still have an active subscription and stuff. So
Yeah. Well, you can subscribe to
yeah.
just bare bones Podio and then have the guy build on that, right? And
Oh yeah, yeah. I just mean like when he says shut down, is he going to delete all my data, or is the service no longer going to work? Like I'm wondering how that's going to work.
yeah,
So
maybe you need to get more
hopefully I'll be able
information
to
about what that looks like. Yeah.
yeah, I'll be able to get up and running before then, so it's not an issue. But I have a call with Sal's team this coming week just to talk about. It's like a sales call for them to sell me on Prospect X, but I'm not. I'm just gonna ask them a bunch of questions about like how soon they're planning to shut me down and stuff. But
And what that looks like, what shutting down means. Yeah. Like what
yeah,
you'll be able to
yeah.
keep and what's going to go away.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a bit of a challenge. The good news is I've already got this plan in motion before that was dropped on me with Carson, so that's good news. But now I feel like I need to rush him a bit on building my new one. So
You could probably hire somebody off of Online Jobs PH too, or Upwork to build it. You know, if you can't get the timeline you want. I mean, I know you like this guy, but there,
yeah,
I mean, I have somebody on my team who's built ours out. So
yeah,
um, probably more people with the skill if you're under the gun.
definitely.
If you're under the gun and you need to get something done, move data over.
Yeah, yeah, but we can move on over. I know it took a bunch of time, so that's pretty much it for me.
It's all right. That's a full week. You had a lot of stuff going on with closings.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I had another deal come back to me too, so that was a victory. So this week, technically, two deals that came back from the dead for me. That one that I was in litigation on. Hopefully, this time will close at the end of the month. And then another one that we were working on title issues, but it was kind of in the seller's court because she had a long lost brother that she didn't even know where he was, and she called me this week. She found him, so I think we can close that this month as well. So that's like a bonus, it's like two free contracts that we're starting the month with essentially. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. That's always nice.
Yeah.
Persistence, just staying with things,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And yeah, I guess last thing real quick, I've had a great experience with that dude. So if you ever do want to litigate, I'll refer you to him because he's been really helpful. So
Thanks. Yeah. Hopefully I don't have to again, but you never know.
yeah.
All right. So, well, thanks for checking in about your business. I hope that's helpful for people to hear some of the logistics of the deals closing. If you haven't closed a lot of deals, it's probably good to hear like all the different challenges you might have to deal with, and just know that every deal is different. Sometimes we get slam dunks, but a lot of times there's extra stuff to be done to get everybody signed and get the money in and get it closed. So I remember
Yeah.
when I first started out and I got my first contract, I was like, oh yeah, I got a contract, and it felt like a closed deal. I was like, yeah, got a contract. That's the first
Yeah.
step. Then you sell the contract, and then that's a victory. But then the next victory is when you close the contract, close the deal. So yeah, it's a
Yep.
process. But
Yep.
all right, well, I'll do my business check-in. Uh,
All righty.
see where we're at here. I made a few notes this morning, just looking back at the KPI reports from my team. We use Slack, and people check in, and like at the end of the week, the different departments do a KPI check-in. So I kind of have an idea of what's going on every week. We closed one
Awesome.
deal this week, so that was a land deal in. I don't know what county it is. I know the address of the property. This is kind of what's cool for me, and kind of what's scary is that Jasper and I have talked in earlier episodes about who, not how, and how we're practicing asking the question, who can do this, not how can I do this. And so more and more, I don't know what's going on in my business in certain areas. Like, I don't know what county this deal is in. I don't know how much money we made on the deal off the top of my head. I can find this information, but I know we closed the deal. So that's good. Uh, and the deal is with what I do know is the deal is with a buyer who had contracted three of our deals. She bought one and closed on it like a week or so ago. She's got this one under she just closed this one. She's got a third one that's closing the week after next, and then I think she made an offer on a fourth one, but we had a higher offer from somebody else, so we went with them. But she's in a buying mood, so that's great for us. We just have this new buyer who's constantly scanning our website and making offers on our deals. So
Yeah.
that's a victory just in terms of like where I was a year ago with disposition and where we are now, where we've got multiple buyers who are like sort of on top of our inventory and making us offers and wanting to buy land from us, reaching out to us, and quality buyers who just close deals quickly and not no
Hmm.
hassles. It's such a big asset to have those people who just if they make an offer, they're going to follow through and close in a timely way. That's a really nice thing.
Yeah.
Because you can
Yeah.
get people who talk a lot or make an offer but don't follow through. So it's a blessing.
Hmm.
We sold three this week. One of those was a JV deal, and that's kind of a victory because we've had a couple of people that we've bumped into because we have one of our dispo team members does scraping on Facebook and various groups and stuff just to find more buyers, but we also run into wholesalers, and we've had a couple of wholesalers reach out to us and ask us to JV their deals lately. I mean, Jasper, you referred us one, but aside from that guy, we've had a couple people, other people just reach out to us, and so we closed the JV with you earlier this year, Jasper. We also closed with another person, a JV that we closed. We did one with her last year, and then we have. I think we just sold this one, and then we have another one of his that we're working on too. Since we sold this one.
Awesome.
So it's nice for us. This guy seems like he's good. We've talked about how JVs can be hit or miss, but if the JV partner is
Yeah.
professional and they're actually doing their work, and they're handling their seller well, then it can be a really nice arrangement to just get a deal brought to the table and find the buyer and close the deal. So that's a
Hmm.
victory. Three solds. One of them was a JV. One of them was not as much of a victory. It was a contract we got I mean, it's fine, but it's a contract we got in a bad neighborhood, like a high crime neighborhood, and in Fayetteville. And everything in Fayetteville area sells really fast, but this one was not really selling. And so we were in a
Huh.
place where it was just like either cancel it or just sort of give it away to one of our VIP buyers. So one of our buyers who buys a lot in Fayetteville came to us and said, "Hey, I'll take it off your hands, but I don't want to pay, you know, much for it."
Yeah.
So we're making $1,000 assignment fee on it. It's a low income neighborhood, so it's sold. We'll got some money coming in on it, but it's not like not a big victory. But at least the victory in it
Yeah.
is that we get to do what we said we were going to do with the sellers and close the deal for them, and then we get some cash flow on it, and we keep a good relationship with a buyer who's a VIP for us. So that's all good.
Yeah.
And I think we sold one or two other ones just from watching Slack and what's going on with contracts and email and stuff. But again, I'm not micromanaging any of the departments anymore. People are doing their jobs really well. So I'm pretty sure we have a signed contract on at least one other property, but I think we're waiting for an EMD. So we don't count things as sold until the EMD is deposited. Um,
Yeah.
that might not be until Tuesday. So probably we really sold 4 or even 5 this week, but three the way we count them,
Awesome.
contract signed and EMD in. Um,
Yeah.
so then we made 11 offers this week, and we got 3 contracts, which is a great ratio. We've still been frozen on our lead generation SMS channels. We had I don't know if I told you this, Jasper, but the Smarter Contact Saga. This will be in my challenges, but we've got 2 different platforms for SMS marketing. One is Launch Control, and we've had that frozen now for 5 weeks without being able to send batches. So we opened a new
Yeah.
channel called Smarter Contact, and that one we sent out a campaign on, and we were doing pretty well on it. And we sent out a second campaign, and our block rate was at like 90% or something. Carrier block rate was at
Huh.
90%. So we have a toll-free number that we're using temporarily. This is a lot of mumbo jumbo and technical lingo, but getting a new EIN to set up a different permanent number, all this stuff. But so anyway, we had no outgoing text messages this week, so we're just continuing to work our leads that we were sort of going through our old leads, and we got 3 contracts. Made 11 offers and 3
Nice.
contracts just by going through our leads in our system. So that's great.
Yeah.
It's teaching us good habits as far as really being thorough with all of our leads and our lead management. And, our acquisitions specialist has been on the phone a ton with people, and she's really developing her sales skills and negotiation skills and rapport building skills. So that's been a victory of the SMS being down. And it's also a challenge, which I can speak to a little bit. But and then for the
Hmm.
month, we only made 47 offers this month because of this issue, but we did get 10 contracts, and that's a 21% hit rate for offers to contracts, which is great because we had been in the 10 to 15% range for, like, if you take the aggregate
Hmm.
the whole year, and I wanted to increase that, so we're trending in a great direction. When I was
Yeah.
doing this as a solopreneur in the beginning, I was getting around 20% of offers to contracts. I'd convert about 20% of them. And so then that dipped, and I
Hmm.
stepped away from being the person following up with all the leads on the contracts. And now it's coming back.
Right.
So that's really great to see. So I'm grateful for that. And I think that's mostly my KPI stuff, just kind of overview of how the business did this week with some numbers.
Hmm.
Um, I guess another, victory is that what I was mentioning is that people are just doing more and more within the business, so that I am doing more big picture stuff and thinking about how to grow the business, implementing systems and automations, all these things, and working behind the scenes to grow things, which is where
Yeah.
I need to be to hit that annual goal. So that's great. I've been doing a little bit of acquisition still, and being in touch with sellers because we still need to ramp up our contracts and offers. But yeah, and as I mentioned to you, Jasper, we've got a person within our team who's we call our systems guru, and she's great, and she's been coming up with a lot of different automations and innovation with stuff. Things like if we reach out to somebody 5 times and we get no response, you can sort of I think you just mark no response each time, and then after the fifth time, it automatically puts them in a follow-up sequence without us having to manually do it.
Uh-huh.
So there are a few things I
Nice.
can't even think of everything she's done, but she's done so many cool automations. She's just kind of like every time I think of something that needs to be done, she's kind of already working on it or thought about it half the time. So that's nice. And if it's not something she's already thought of, then she just jumps on the idea that I have about, hey, can we automate this? Can we automate that? And we're just automating so much
Right.
stuff so that seller leads don't fall through the cracks anymore. Another thing
Yeah.
she created an app within Podio. We were talking about Podio, so she created an app within Podio for the calendar, and that's what triggers all this stuff. Like you put the follow up in the calendar, you just enter the follow up date that you have to follow up, and then it pops up for you on the calendar. You do the follow up, and then it marks it as another follow up, and then after 5, if you don't get through to the person, it goes to a sequence. So just a lot of different stuff she's been innovating within our Podio that's making it more and more effective with managing
Yeah.
leads. So it's great. So that's a victory
Nice.
for sure. Um, and then let's see, do I have any other victories that I wrote down before I go to challenges? I don't know. I talked about the JVs. We had this one deal that the it's a bigger dollar amount deal for us, which we can really use right now with working towards this goal and being a little bit behind or feeling behind
Mm-hmm.
schedule. And the buyer reached out, and it was like pending. It's a big piece of property. It's like a 40-acre parcel, and it had some wetlands things, and we weren't sure if we were going to be able to do it. And he got a wetland specialist, and he's ready to go ahead and close it. And so that's news
Nice.
for us. That was one I mentioned a few episodes back where we got a major price reduction on this one, and then we were able to find a buyer after that at a nice profit for us. And
Mm-hmm.
he's been great to work with, and he also agreed to work with our attorney, and he was talking about trying to work with his attorney, and I got in touch with them and talked to him about assignment deals and stuff, and I think they were more comfortable just pushing it to our attorney, which is great for us because we know how they're going to operate. So we're moving
Yeah.
that deal over to our attorney, and it's going to close, and it's uh, let's just say our average deal, it's 5 times our average deal size for the year. So that's nice.
That's awesome.
There's a
Yeah.
assignment fee on it. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's a nice one to feel like it's moving forward. That was a victory this week to just have that communication with him, the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then I set up this is a minor one, but Jasper, you inspired me a little bit talking about Alex Hormozzi's incremental little things you can do to improve stuff. And my acquisition specialist who's been really just crushing it. Like we talked a few weeks back about just being courageous and getting on the phone and not having to know what you're going to say all the time and trying to build rapport. And, just we've been working on sales training for a while. And she's just been a
Mm-hmm.
rock star with just like picking up the phone and getting on with people, no matter if she's comfortable or not, and just jumping in there. So she's shared a call that she had trouble with, and I listened to it and I saw where, there's some stumbles and stuff, and the guy was difficult. He was a difficult seller. And so I gave her some feedback
Yeah.
on the call, and I said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't you just like give me one call every day? Just share the recording with me. I'll give you some feedback and notes, and we'll just, if we do one a day, you'll just build that muscle of like responses that you could have or tools and tips. Cause I can normally hear like where things could have been smoother or better, where she could have responded differently and stuff if I listen. We were talking about role
Uh-huh.
playing and just different ways to do sales training. But if we just do like one call a day where it takes me like 5 or 10 minutes to feedback to her on issues she had, and that's going to accumulate onto itself, right? Be like, that's 5 calls a week, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's 20 calls a month, and then that's, you know what I mean? And then if
Yeah.
getting that much feedback, and every time she's starting to see patterns and things she could do, and I also model, and I'll make calls when we do our acquisitions meetings. I'll be like, who are you having challenges with, or who do you want me to call? And then we'll just jump on a few calls in the acquisitions meeting, and I try and model as best as I can the way I deal with people. But I
Yeah.
felt happy about that because it feels like a way that I can support her to get better and support her, in her being so courageous. I want to do stuff to help her and not have her just out there flailing.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
that felt like a victory to me to come up with just a little, and I think it feels good to her too. little minor training thing that we can do without having to make some big formal, like we're going to set aside an hour here, an hour there,
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and then I'll just jump into challenges. I don't know if I have any tools or tips, so I'll just do challenges right now. The SMS stuff continues to be a challenge. I guess the one tip is what I said earlier, like if you're getting an EIN, which you need for a SMS platform, um, you get that by having an LLC that's been filed with your state. And then once you have an LLC set up with your state, which costs, again, don't go through a third party service because they'll charge you more. Like I think it cost me $125 to set up the LLC through North Carolina. So, every state's going to be different, but don't go to a sponsored ad. Go to the Secretary of State for your state, fill out the form. It's just the same process as the other person's going to do. They're just going to tack on a fee. So, uh, file your LLC, and then once your LLC is filed, you can go to the IRS and you can apply for an EIN, and then they'll give that to you same day if you apply online, and that's free. And they'll send it to your email.
Yeah.
And you have an EIN certificate, and then you can use that to set up your SMS texting platform, and that's how you are tracked by the carriers and the Text Regulatory Commission or whatever. SMS Regulatory Commission. They track by EIN, so they're going to track your volume and your activity by your EIN, and you want to keep that to. My understanding is you want to keep that to 50,000 texts per month, roughly, and you want to maximize your text per minute at 6 to avoid being flagged or blocked. And I'm learning this the hard way, so trying to share my experience so nobody else has it happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, with the Smarter Contact. We haven't been able to do anything because they give us that toll-free number, and then the block rate was super high, so we just paused the campaign we were working on. Bless you. And so,
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to get that set up this week with the new EIN and a non-toll-free number, and hopefully we can go with that. So in the meantime, I was going to do an RVM campaign, and I researched how to do RVM within Smarter Contact, which is a feature they have. And that's ringless voicemail. So you just drop a voicemail into somebody's voicemail without the phone ringing, and then hopefully they call you back, right? And so I was going to try a campaign with that, but for some reason RVM is not on our dashboard, and it should be because we have an enterprise account. So I think support is only working business hours, and I didn't get a response back from them. So now I'm waiting for Smarter Contact support to get RVM onto my dashboard to find out why I don't have it, so that I can do a campaign with that while I'm waiting for a text to come back online. So that was a challenge for me this weekend, because I thought we could start on Saturday when I was working with one of my acquisitions people, start an RVM campaign and see how we did with that. But yeah, just for tips and tricks, there's another land wholesaler named Callan Faulkner, and she's got some great videos about SMS marketing, and she talks about ringless voicemail. Yeah. And then from her, I got the idea that like a lot of people over whatever age you want to pick, 70, 75, 80, are not going to probably be texting much. So maybe you filter your lists by age and pull everybody over 70 or 75 or 80, whatever you want to do, take that list, drop it back into a campaign for ringless voicemail, and send all those people a ringless voicemail and just say, hey, just checking to see if you're interested in selling that property or whatever. And this is so-and-so, give me a call if you get, whatever you want to say. But that's our plan. So just for anybody who wants another strategy or another angle, if you have, and you don't have to get Smarter Contact to get ringless voicemail. There are other services. You can just probably Google RVM and then find a service that fits your budget or your needs to do that. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Just the SMS stuff. Again, I mentioned this last week, but I made a post on TikTok about the issue with launch control and the suspension that we've had for 5 weeks when it's supposed to be a 2 to 3 day review. And I've had people say, get a hacker to go in there and do it. I'm really a little bit scared to get a hacker to go in, because if it gets traced back to us, we could get, maybe more repercussions. But then I'm also like, what do I have to lose at this point? I'm 5 weeks of no ability to send text. And now another thing, this is a minor challenge connected with this, but I don't know if it's because of my EIN or it's because of the crackdown with carriers and regulatory commissions. But And Jasper, tell me if you've had any of this, but with smartphone, our Podio, dialer, we've had some stuff flagged in there, some text messages flagged in there, where my acquisition specialist has been trying to just reply to a text, and they flagged it and said you can't send this text. It's got, I can't remember what the message was, but that's a first for us. So I don't know if that's because our EIN is already under review, or if it's because they're cracking down more on every text platform, and looking for spammy language or language they don't want to see in text. So that's been a new challenge for us this week that we have to look at as well. So I guess the point is, everybody just be super careful with SMS marketing, because it seems like there is a crackdown happening, and it's going to get harder and harder to do it effectively without getting flagged or suspended. And
Yeah,
that's what I
definitely.
got.
Nice.
Have you had
Well, yeah,
any
I've had
issues
that before there.
with smartphone with getting messages flagged?
Yeah, I had that a while ago. I think it's just like if you send, I know if we send links via text, sometimes they don't go through. If you send certain words, sometimes it doesn't go through. But I know one of my close friends is shut down on launch, same time as you, and now he's shut down on smartphone as well. So if you haven't registered with smartphone, I recommend you do that today, so you don't get shut down. But basically, what I've heard from Tiffany, she seems to be very up on this stuff. I get her emails and stuff. Is that August 31st was the deadline to like register for all this stuff, and so after that, they're just cracking down on everybody, and even those that are registered. But so I registered for smartphone when I first purchased smartphone over a year ago,
When you
and so
say
I haven't
register,
had.
you're talking about the 10 DLC registration?
I think they call it A2P, but I think it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, we did all that. It's
Um,
like A2P 10 DLC. It's like putting your business in there so that you are like a legitimate business, not just somebody grabbing an account and throwing out text.
yeah, so as long as you're in there, you should be fine. It's trying to see exactly what they call it in there. But you should be
The
able to go on your
A2P sounds
smartphone.
familiar, but there's also the 10 DLC, which is something to do with the regulatory stuff.
Yeah, so if you go on smartphone, you go on Trust Center, you should see your business profile and it should say approved. And then there's also multiple other things. And your main business profile says approved. And then there's a stir slash shaken trusted calling, and that says approved. And then there's A2P messaging, authorized business texting. And so if you're not registered on that as well, then I'll recommend registering on that. But it sounds like you probably already are.
Yeah, yeah, we are.
But yeah, in terms of just like minor issues here and there, yeah, I've had those with smartphone, definitely. But I know one of my buddies just got shut down because he didn't do that step that I just mentioned. So if you guys have already done that, I think you're fine. Just edit those texts that aren't sending, because we do have that from time to time. It's just not
It was a
a huge
first for
issue.
us, and it was like a red bubble message of like
Yeah,
blah blah blah. And I'd
yeah,
never seen
we've
it
had
on
that before.
smartphone before.
Yeah, we've had that before a couple months ago. So and we have it from time to time. You know, maybe a couple texts a week will bounce back. But
Yeah, we're looking at like the negative keywords guide on launch control, and making sure that everybody's aware of that when sending text, stuff like that, because there are negative keyword guides that you have to be careful of. It's some words you wouldn't think would be flagged are like interested as a negative keyword, um,
hmm
because it's a sales, like we're interested in your property or something. But there are some that surprisingly are not on there, like selling, right? I think selling is not on, but sell is, or something. So it's good to
yeah,
know what the negative keywords are and what you can and can't say. Um, so I
definitely.
recommend anybody familiarize themselves with a list of negative keywords for SMS marketing too, just to protect
Yeah.
yourself. But yeah, that's all I got. Anything else, Jasper? Any feedback on or ideas that came up when I was sharing the challenges?
Yeah, I think the RVMs is a great idea. We text about that. Uh, I was on that Zoom call or whatever it was, webinar with the launch control people this week, and I got some good takeaways, but they didn't really address the elephant in the room. So what he said was basically like if you are shut down, it's not something that they can really help with because it's between like you and the
Yeah.
carrier or whatever. I wasn't totally understanding, but I think he was saying like when you register with the 10 DLC and stuff, that's a relationship between your business and the carriers or whoever's providing that 10 DLC registration. So I'm guessing it's like all the cell phone carriers or something. There's one major
Well,
company.
they're saying the TRC is the body that the issue is with. So
Yeah.
maybe it's like trying to contact them directly and say what's up.
Yeah. And in terms of like the shutdowns, like I really don't know. I mean, I'm my teeth until it happens to me because like I've got a couple friends that are close to me that text me and stuff that have been shut down the same amount of time as you. And then I have bunch of people in CG that are posting nonstop in our group about it that they're still shut down. So it's a pretty widespread issue. I'm hoping that I won't get shut down. I mean, I did add that opt-in language on my website, but I don't think that's saving people. So I don't really know. But I know once you're shut down, I haven't seen anybody posting like responses in my group to where they know how to get you back up. So I don't really know.
Yeah, maybe I do have to look into the hacker.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like which hacker is reputable and good. I guess maybe I'll see if somebody will get on the phone with me, and then if they'll get on the phone with me, I'll trust them more.
Yeah, definitely.
But I got like 20 hackers referred to me on TikTok when I put that post up.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah, maybe worth a shot.
I guess we're coming down the home stretch here. I mean, I'm going to have another EIN, so if I, screws up, at least I'll have another one. I can get another one, right? So that might be the thing is we just keep
Yeah.
getting EINs and keep popping up with new accounts. If they're going to do this to us.
Yeah, definitely.
But all right, should we wrap it up?
Let's do it.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I don't have any quotes off the top of my head, unfortunately. Here's one that's on my bulletin board. Mindset is the filter that controls how you experience your world and act in it. I think that's from that Larry Yach book. You create
Nice.
your own mindset, and that's the filter that controls how you experience your world and act in it, for what that's worth. we like to read
Yeah.
quotes, thought-provoking stuff. Do you have anything?
Um, Not any
If you
quotes
know.
off the top of my head. I was reading this book simultaneously with Alex Hormozzi's book, uh, called The Psychology of Money, and I listened to that book last year, but I wanted to read the physical copy. And one quote that I like is very simple, but he says, "Nothing is ever as good or as bad as it seems." He has a chapter on risk versus luck, and he shared a really cool story that I've never heard, which is that Bill Gates and I'm forgetting his partner's name right now, but his partner in Microsoft, they went to high school together, and they went to high school in Seattle, Washington. And he shared a cool stat. He shared there were 18 million people in I forget the year. I think it was 69 or 79 when these guys were in high school. He was there. He said there were 18 million people of high school age during that year. I think it was 69. Either way, and there were something like 400, 500,000 people in Washington at that time or something, and like 100,000 people in Seattle. So it's grown quite a bit since then. But there was 100,000 people in Seattle, and then 300 students at this high school, and then Bill Gates and his partner and this one other guy that they were friends with were all interested in this computer. They were the first high school in the United States to have a computer, and so he used that as an example of luck because he just shared the statistics and it was like 18 million high school age kids, only three of them in this school, or not 300, not three of them, 300 people in this school. So it was like, I forget the ratio there, but very small ratio of people at that year in that year that had access to a computer. And these guys were three of them. And so he said they just couldn't get enough of it. They were on the computer all the time. And obviously we all know what they turned out to do, build one of the biggest companies ever. And so he used that as an example of luck because they were in the right place, right time. And he
Yeah.
said that Bill Gates went back and spoke at that school, and he was like, if I didn't go to the school, I wouldn't be where I am today. It's like there were no computers in the world at that time. They had the only computer in the United States. So I just think that's incredible. Obviously, other schools probably a year or 2, 3 years later probably had computers, but not at that time. And so who's to say that they would have made Microsoft 5, 10 years later, if they didn't have that. And so I thought that was really cool. But then they shared a story, and I forget his other friend's name, but there were three friends. So it was Bill and his partner that made Microsoft, and then a third friend, and they all went to computer after school, and they would just, as long as they could, they would be on the computer learning about it and stuff. And the other dude died in a mountaineering accident in high school, and he shared a stat where it was something really minuscule, the number of people that have died in a mountaineering accident in high school. And so he was like, that's the opposite end of the spectrum. Risk. They all were in the same school. They all were the same age. They all had the same opportunity. But this guy's dead, and they built Microsoft, and he was going to build a company with them. But he was just sharing that, and I just thought it was a really cool story. Obviously for the positive side of it, but also at the same time, he just shares that like all these people that are successful. He shared a bunch of other stories, but that luck always comes into play,
Yeah.
and you want to recognize that, but also recognize the risk and stuff that comes with everything. So it was a good anecdote, but I thought that was cool. Just more of the positive side, not the fact his friend died, but just that they were able to be in the right place and right time to
Yeah.
learn about computers and stuff.
Yeah. Adam Schneider shared some book, and I'm not going to remember the name of it right now, about randomness. When he did his talk at the 100 Club, I'll try and remember the name of the book and maybe post it with this, but it was just like a book on randomness and how it has much more of an effect in our lives than we realize. The right
Yeah,
place, right time, just random things that can happen are a
yeah,
bigger effect on the world in our lives than we give credit to. We think we can control everything.
yeah,
We can't.
definitely.
All right, let's wrap it up and do a couple of appreciations, and we'll sign off. I think we're at about 90 minutes in.
All right. Well, I appreciate you doing this with me today. Appreciate anyone who's listening and watching till the end. If you guys liked it, leave a like and leave a comment if you want us to touch on anything else next week. So appreciate everyone that's listening and watching. And I appreciate the weather here. It has been rainy this week, but it's been cooler with the rain. It's been like 90 degrees during the day, and that's been really nice coming into fall. And yeah, I appreciate my team. I didn't mention, our team grew by one member this week, so we are at 11 now. We hired another cold caller, and she's awesome so far. She's crushed it her first week. So grateful for her, grateful for a growing team, grateful for Matt's company for providing me another good cold caller. And so, yeah, I'm excited about that continued growth, and appreciate the opportunity to accomplish my goal this year from wholesaling. And I'm excited that we're coming down the home stretch. It feels like pressure, but it feels exciting at the same time. So I'm excited for the possibility of achieving, surpassing my goal, and we'll see how it ends up. But I appreciate mostly the wholesaling and real estate business for giving me the opportunity to set the goal and hopefully reach it. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
awesome. Well, I appreciate technology that we can figure out how to meet each week and see each other at least on a Zoom screen and check in and uh, do this podcast. And I appreciate my lovely partner Anne for traveling across the country and taking a chance on our relationship and moving in together and everything. It's an exciting time for us, and I appreciate this beautiful weather here in North Carolina. It's nice to have it warm and sunny, and appreciate you for doing this with me, Jasper, for however many years I think we're 3 years in or so. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and appreciate, as you said, anybody who's listening or watching, and hopefully you're getting something out of this, and let us know how we can help. And yeah, I appreciate the animals. It's been really great to uh, Jasper. Your grandma's dog Maeve has been really sweet and fun. She's just turned 8 months old, so she's still got a lot of puppy energy, and she's also a very very sweet girl. So it's been a joy to be around a dog again after living in a house in Chicago with only a cat for a couple of months. Even though the
Yeah.
upstairs neighbor's dog would pop in every once in a while, that was fun. And I got to see Artemis Jasper's sister's dog came to visit for a little while with her mama. So that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for me. I guess we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for listening, and have a great week.
Yeah.